Hey everyone, I am back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. We are continuing the mindset training book, my recent book, Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind, and the Rest Will Follow. We have been going through this book now for the last couple of months, and we're finishing up through the end of this year here, which is crazy because it's coming up here very shortly. Let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat. For those of you who are new, I am in the Tampa Bay area. For those of you who celebrate Christmas, either Merry Christmas Eve if you're on this side of the world, or Merry Christmas if you're already, if you're hours ahead of us here and it's already Christmas for you and you celebrate that. So Merry Christmas Eve or Merry Christmas, depending on what part of the world you are in right now. And if you're watching the replay of this in like March, there was Christmas at some point, right? So again, for those of you who are just now joining, thanks again so much for joining. Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Mental health moment is all about how do you become the best version of who you are so you can show up powerfully for yourself and for the people around you. And again, for the last couple of weeks, we've been going through my newest book, which is Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind, and the Rest Will Follow. For those of you who have or about to get the book on Amazon, it actually looks like this. This is the brand new cover, you all. So it's the same. Oops, I'm putting the frame. It's the same exact book, Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind, and the Rest Will Follow. But on Amazon, it does look like this, the cover. And then the old cover, which is actually a limited edition cover, is this one, which was the first cover. So that is on other outlets as they update the cover there. And because for some of you right now, it is Christmas Eve, and I know you have other things to be doing, I'm going to quickly go through today chapters 19 and 20 of the book. There's only 20, well, I shouldn't say only, but there's 21 chapters of the book. So like I said, next week, we will literally finish this entire book. Again, I've been highlighting for you. If you miss any of the mental health episodes, you can always go to Dr. Nekeshia Hammond YouTube, watch the replays of this. And yeah, if you already have the book, then again, I encourage you to highlight, take notes, or whatever it is that you need to do for you, because this book is all about helping you. Okay, chapter 19, Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind, the Rest Will Follow, is all about, it's all about the notion of how self-care, taking care of yourself, your mental wellness really is a lifelong commitment. Just as how, you wouldn't stop, hopefully, eating healthy if you started eating healthier or exercising, working out, or doing the things that better yourself physically. You wouldn't just stop that. Like, right, we can't just do that for a month or two and be like, oh, we're great, right? We have to continue on that journey of getting to wellness. And it's the same thing with your mental health and wellness as well. This is a lifelong commitment. So some of the things that you've learned throughout this book, I do want to encourage you to continue these practices. And again, we're all at different places in our wellness journey, which is okay. Some of you are at the starting point, which is fine. Some of you are at, the middle of your race, if you will. And some of you are near the end of a certain goal, which is all good, no matter where you're at. I did also share in this chapter and a reminder that you can show up and start this process of taking care of yourself, bettering yourself, understanding that you deserve to thrive at any age. So whether you're listening to this right now and you are 22 years old, or you're listening to this right now and you're 92 years old, at any age, you can work on taking the mindset shift to really think about how do I become a better version of myself, because there's always things that we need to be working on. And for those of you just now tuning in here, it's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. We're going through Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind, and the Rest Will Follow. The other thing I wanted to really share with you, well, one of the things I shared in this chapter is I talked about my journey, a while back when I used to train for half marathons. And what was so interesting about that is, yes, of course, there's a physical aspect of running 13.1 miles, of course, and training for that. But a lot of it also actually was mental training as well. Like really mentally preparing for the race, really getting out of your own head of all the things. I used to tell myself all sorts of things sometimes at certain races, like, I'm too tired. Why am I doing this? I don't know if I could do this. Like, just right. All the negative thinking and negative thoughts that we think about sometimes would pop up. But when I really started also training my mind to be able to handle that and to push through the resistance, because again, you don't have to be running half marathon to know, you all. A lot of us, you will have mental resistance from yourself, not even from, maybe from the outside to your external environment, but internally. You get to the point, especially when you're trying to make changes, your mind is gonna pop up and be like, wait a minute, right? It could be imposter syndrome. It could be the negative thoughts that pop up, the anxiety, the sadness, the worry, all of that. It happens. You're human. It's normal, but it's a matter of working through and preparing yourself for those times, and then thinking about how can you really continue to push through the resistance from yourself, your inner resistance that you have some time to change for towards change and towards thriving or becoming that next version of who you are. So that's one of the things that I talked about in this, in this particular chapter, is really that it's interesting because they always say life's a marathon, right? But I think of it, well, I guess especially in my running days, as you're not just preparing for one race, you're preparing for a multitude of races in your life. So wherever you're at right now, it doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your background, wherever it is that you are right now in this moment, you're technically on some type of race to get to some destination, if you will, of who you are as a person. And then I hope for you that you meet that said goal and you get to that place. But then when you get to that place, there will be another race that you have to run, if you will, which is all good. And remember, when you have those goals that you're setting, I mean, we've got the new year coming up here, but when you have those goals that you're setting for you and you meet those goals, and then you have a new set of goals, you decide in the season of your life, are you going to walk there? Are you going to sprint there? Are you going to swim there? Right? Like, you decide the path that it takes for you. And sometimes it just takes a little bit longer, and that's okay. So I want to really remind you all of that today, that it's okay if you have to take, we talked a lot about on mental health moment about taking the baby steps. It's okay if you have to take baby steps sometimes. And then sometimes you're going to be in a season of your life where, like, you know what? I want to sprint. Wonderful. I want to jog. Great. I need to take a step back because something is happening right now in my life and I need to take the baby steps again. It's all good. The most important thing is to think about keep going, which is actually something that I used to tell myself when I was running 13.1 miles. I used to, because again, this has nothing to do with running. You might be like, I would never run a race ever, or you hate running, which is all good. So you don't have to be a runner by any means, but metaphorically, when you run your race, whatever that looks like for you, it's good to have some type of a mantra. Like I said, mine used to be, when I was physically running, like, keep going, keep going, keep going, because in my head, I would just get to points where I'm like, this is too much. I'm tired. I'm hot. I'm thirsty. Like, all these things start to happen to you. And the same thing happens to us on our mental wellness journey, that you will get to points where you be like, why am I doing this? This change, whatever that is for you, is too hard. It's too difficult. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm overwhelmed. That is normal. But one of your goals, I hope, is again to get to the mental point where you can push through that. And thanks so much for tuning in. So that's what, in a nutshell, that's what chapter 19 is about. Obviously, I talked a lot more in there, but I'm highlighting for you guys. And for those of you who are just tuning in here, I'm going through my latest book, which is Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind, and the Rest Will Follow. You can get more information about it at mindsettrainingbook.com. But essentially, I'm about to go through chapter 20 really quick. And there's 21 chapters, short chapters. It's not like a 500-page book, you all. But there's 21 chapters in the book. So I'm about to highlight chapter 20 for you all. And then next week, as we round out the year, which is crazy, right? That this year, I don't know, is already over practically. Then I'll go through the very last chapter of the book. And What I hope for you next week is that you, or hopefully you're already doing it, but also bring your intentions next week to Mental Health Moment, because I'm going to ask you to really think about that. That's something that's important. For some of you, it may be a word or phrase that you have going into this new year. For some of you, it might just be an intention that you want to set. Um, yeah, I'll just leave it at that because that's a whole nother mental health moment. Okay. But yes, please bring that next week to Mental Health Moment. Okay, so chapter 20. Chapter 20 is about different types of therapy. If that is something that you may feel that you need. So sometimes, honestly, it's really hard as a psychologist sometimes to it's hard. It's hard because when I consult with the media, and I used to consult with my local news channel like every month, I would go on there and I'd have like 2 or 3 minutes, you all, to like share this piece of information that for me, I wanted like 2 hours to talk about, but that's not how it works in media, obviously. So it's the same thing sometimes I feel like with some of the books that I write. I mean, I write this book for you all, and then it's like, I was only 100 something pages. There's more books coming, but but there's way more information that you need. And it's the same thing when it comes to therapy sometimes. Sometimes the things that you try to do in a self-help way, it's just not enough. And that's okay if you're in that place. I just want to share that with you. It really is just okay if you're like, you know what, I tried all the things at home, if you will, and it's not enough. And I think I need to reach out to a mental health professional. Or maybe you already have, and it's all good, right? So this chapter, I don't want to get too into the like all the details because it's a lot in this chapter, but it does talk about different types of therapy. There's a lot of different types of therapy out there. There's individual therapy, there's group therapy, there's family therapy, there's couples therapy, there's different types of therapy within the therapy. So let's say for individual therapy, there's something called cognitive behavioral therapy. There's therapies for anxiety and depression. And there's a lot of different types of therapy. So I talked a little bit about that in this chapter. One of the questions that I ask that you ask yourself in this chapter is, am I the type of person who needs other people that have been through similar circumstances to help me process? Or is this a journey that I want to take on my own? Right. And there's not a right or wrong answer. And I ask this because sometimes you may be like, I need people that better understand me and my situation. So maybe you need a support group. Or maybe you're like, nope, don't need a support group. I just want the help one on one with a therapist. All good. Like there's not really a right or wrong per se. It's just a matter of if you want to reach out to a mental health professional. I know there's a lot of stigma, which is why I wrote this whole chapter. There's a lot of stigma, unfortunately, when it comes to mental health and mental health treatment. But therapy is one way. And hi, welcome from San Francisco. Thanks so much for joining again. But that is one way for treatment when it comes to bettering yourself. The other thing I talked about in this chapter, as well as, of course, we know, but a reminder that treatment, if you will, yes, there's the level of mental health professional, but there's also diet. There's also exercise. For some of you, I mean, there's retreats out there. There's connecting with if it's your significant other or your family members or your friends or your neighbors, your person at your place of worship, whomever it is for you, that is a huge thing that can be helpful in your mental health journey as well. There's a whole chapter on that, actually. The value of relationships and making sure you're connecting with others is so critically important for you. So critically important. And there's so much research on that. I could go on and on. But nonetheless, yeah. So that's essentially what this chapter is all about. What I do want to say, so again, next week, I'm going to go through the very last chapter of the book, you all. And then I cannot believe we're almost in next year, y'all. And then next year we'll go back to our regularly scheduled mental health moment. But I did want to take a moment to just sort of highlight some parts of the books, like I mentioned. But again, one of the things I want to mention about wherever you're at in your wellness journey, it's so important that number one, always do what's best for you, right? And continue to examine for yourself what are your needs, right? So asking yourself things like, how am I doing? Checking in with yourself. Number two, what do I need physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally? This answer for you is going to change. For some of you, it's going to change week to week, frankly, which is fine. For some of you, it changes year to year. Things happen in our lives. Like you're allowed to adjust who you are. You're allowed to adjust your self care. You're allowed to adjust your priorities, hopefully, so you prioritize yourself more in different seasons of your life. And then another question to ask yourself is what step do I need to take today in order to improve my life? So those are three questions that I often encourage you to ask yourself because we don't reflect enough for ourselves of how we can be better. But that is a huge step. Self-awareness, very, very, very huge step to take. Oh, someone said, thank you so much. I needed this. Wonderful. And the other thing I want to say as I wrap up here on mental health moment today, I excuse me, I do want to share that I understand being in the mental health field that this is not always the merriest season, if you will, because during the holidays also there's a lot of joy around, but there's also a lot of heartache and pain around for a lot of different reasons when it comes to the holidays. So I want to remind you again to make sure that you're checking in with yourself and continue to check in with the people around you. But make sure it's a both, it's an and not an or, because it's very easy, especially for those of you watching Mental Health Moment who are givers and always checking in with everyone else. Nothing wrong with that. But then you neglect yourself. We don't want to do that either. So it's important, especially in this season, busy, hectic holiday season, no matter what you celebrate or don't celebrate, it's a hectic, busy season. End of the year, like a lot is happening. Check in with yourself and check in with the people around you. Really, really important. And trust and believe a check in with someone goes a lot farther than you know and think. I've heard many, 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 many stories about that, of how meaningful that is for a lot of people. So make sure that you're doing that. Okay, what else do I need to share with you? Oh, I have some new exciting news, but I can't share it yet. So probably by next month I can. So I will share that when I can. But good things for the following year here. Really, really good things. So I will definitely be sharing more announcements with you all. But I encourage you again, for those of you who celebrate Christmas, Merry early Christmas, or maybe you're already in a part of the world that's celebrating. And next week, bring your intentions for the new year. So whatever it is that is, maybe it's a word, maybe it's a phrase, maybe it's a goal, but bring your intentions to Mental Health Moment. Be blessed. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you all next week. Bye, guys.